Joined now by David Birnbaum, M&A for Darcy McGee. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Les.
Last election, 2014, you won with 92% of the vote. Your riding is apparently the safest riding in Quebec. So with that in mind, let's talk politics. And first off, town hall that you had yesterday, Liberals held yesterday at Dawson College. Why did you hold this event? It seems to me you're doing a whole bunch of Anglo-themed events of late.
Well, look, it seems to me that that a government has a responsibility to entertain a dialogue with its communities.
Yeah.
And good ideas always seem to happen too late. Well, this happened yesterday. There were about 300 people there. And I think it was a really important discussion with the Premier, 3 of my fellow ministers, and I had the privilege of moderating it.
Now, how do you not take things for granted? When you win by 92%, what do you do to make sure you're not taking anything for granted?
Well, first of all, I'm part of a team, and what's at stake here is who will form the next government, number one. Number two, what's fascinating about the riding I'm privileged to represent is how involved, engaged, and demanding my constituents are. They expect answers, and it's my job to deliver them on a whole range of issues.
Okay, so I love that you said that, because if that's the case, then your phone must have been ringing off the hook a few months back when we had the whole Bonjour High fiasco. Now, I'm actually, I guess at the end of the day, I was livid when it happened. You know, as an Anglo, I've been here my whole life, chose to stay in Quebec. I hadn't felt like a second-class citizen like that in a long time. So what did you hear from your constituents when that happened? And was it actually almost a good thing that it happened as a wake-up call?
Perhaps. I heard a lot from them, and I invited those whose comments were obscene. There were a couple of those I didn't feel I needed to engage. Those who were passionate and angry, I invited into my office, and we had a talk about it. I mean, I think people want to remember how this thing happened. I know we don't want to spend the whole 5 minutes on it. And this was Jean-François Lisée playing chess, which he always does, and often his head's engaged before his heart.
At the end of the day, right, sure, it's Jean-François Lisée, and of course you've had your run-ins with him, and we can talk about him for days. But at the same time, the Liberals fell for it, and the aftermath of it, you know, many Liberals are saying, oh, Anglophones are being emotional here, you know, talking down to the community. So you sort of played that hand terribly. And when I say you, the party, right?
There were mistakes made. Yeah. There were mistakes made. I think what's most important, and I hope last night's one indication of it, is that that unfortunate incident is not indicative of how our government, how we deal with the English-speaking community of Quebec.
Now, the town hall yesterday, the recent announcements in healthcare, we can go through a whole list of them. Any of that in response to that? Is any of this like making up for what happened?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, the Premier was really clear yesterday, and I've always been convinced of his sincerity with respect to our community. Our approach to an inclusive Quebec. I got into this gig at 58, and I don't think I would have done that if I weren't convinced that I was joining a team that had our community's concerns at heart.
Speaking of those community's concerns, what is core for you? What do you think is chief among those concerns that you're fighting for?
Well, first of all, I think we have a coherent way of fighting for the right things now with Kathleen Weil having been named minister responsible for the English-speaking community. I think it starts with having members of our community in all their diversity understand that they can urge their children to make their future right here because they're part of this place. We've built our own institutions. We've contributed to Quebec. We've made enormous strides in mastering French, and we belong here. And our government has the job to make sure we continue to belong here and feel that we can be part of this place.
How does your party do that when, at the same time, when you make those initiatives, when you do those kinds of things, the French media, not very kind to it? I was listening to French radio coming in this morning, and they took pains to air English-only clips of the Premier talking, and as I said, a group of Anglophones. And you see that in the French media, right? Sometimes when the Liberal Party is nice or does things for the Anglophone community, it's used against them. So how do you play both ends?
Well, I think by being honest and doing the right thing. Dealing with the media is always a challenge. But in my experience, there's a great well of good faith among French Quebecers who understand that we're part of this place. So some of it is the daily rough and tumble of politics, but you do what's right, and doing what's right is taking care of our community as well.
Polls are polls. We're just under 6 months, or we're almost 5 months now to the election. So where do you see, what's the course that the Liberals take in order to win an election with the polls showing that you're neck and neck or trailing the CAQ?
Well, I think you start by being respectful of the electorate. The electorate has to know why we've done what we've done and what are our plans should we win. And where I'm proud and optimistic is that I think we're showing a very clear option. We believe in an inclusive Quebec that's part of Canada. We believe that to render social justice, you have to balance the books, and we do so clearly. So the message is clear. People will know what their choice is, and I think we're offering them a good one.
David Birnbaum is the M&A for Darcy McGee. David, don't be a stranger over the next 5 months. We want to see you again here, talk about these issues that are important to our viewers, and thanks so much for joining us this time.
Thank you.